In this video, we will be looking at problem 6.9, forecasting ratio values. And this is a problem where we're given a current and pro forma financial statement with the data listed here, all the dollar amounts here. And we're asked to compute ratios for 2015, the current, and the pro forma 2016. So we're going to compute 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ratios. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you compute the ratios for 2015, and then I'm going to let you do 2016 on your own based on the pro forma numbers here on your right. Excuse me. I'm going to use the current figures on the left. So the first ratio we want is our current ratio, which is going to give us an indication of how liquid or how much cash we have access to, or how much cash on hand. So what we can do is we can go back to chapter 5, since this is basically a review of chapter 5, and at the end of chapter 5 is a nice listing of all the ratios, and that starts on page 98. So we want the current ratio, which is one of two liquidity ratios. How liquid are we? And this is current assets over current liabilities. So let's jump back over here, and we say current assets are 120 and current liabilities are 40, so 120 over 40, that is a 3-to-1 ratio, and we can prove it real quick, which is 120 divided by 40. It's going to give us 3, so we have a ratio of 3 right here, and that is correct. Okay, the next one is going to be our debt to assets ratio. And what is that? Well, let's go to our trusty listing here, and our debt to assets is total debt over total assets. It's total debt over total assets. That's the ratio. So total debt is going to be current liabilities, which is all lumped right here, plus long-term debt. So that's going to be 80 total debt over total assets, right? Let me make sure I said that right. Yeah, total assets. So it's going to be 80 over 320. All right, 80 over 320. So let's do that real quick. Where's my calculator? So let's clear that and go 80, which is total debt divided by total assets, 320. And that's going to give us a percentage of 25%. And let's see if that's going to be true. Very good. True. 25%. So our debt to assets ratio is 25%. So our debt is 25% of our assets. Okay. The next one is going to be our, it's going to be our sales to assets. Sales to assets. What is that? Let's jump back over here. Sales to assets is, I think it's probability, right? Here we go. Sorry. This is an asset activity ratio, which is total asset turnover, which is sales. So our total asset turnover is going to be sales to assets. So it actually calls it something. So sales to assets, right? So let's go back to make sure we're on the right page here. Sales to assets ratio, which is also known as total asset turnover. So sales to assets. So let's go back and say, okay. Total assets are, well, let's go to sales first. Sales are 200 and total assets are 320. So sales to assets, 200, 320. Okay, so let's just do that. Clear this and go 200 divided by 320 equals 62% And let's see if we got that right. We did, 62.5% actually. Sorry. Yeah, 62.5%. 62.5%, so far so good. The next one is going to be our net profit margin. Well, by the way, what this is saying is that sales to assets means that if we look at our assets, they're actually larger. So 62% of our assets were actually turned into sales. That's what that's saying. So it's important not just to get the number, but to understand conceptually what we're really talking about here. So net profit margin. Okay, let's jump back over here and go to our net profit, which is profitability ratio. I'm sure, right? Because profit, that's net income. Net income after we take all our taxes and our interest and our costs and all that out. Net income over sales, over our original sales. So what's that going to be? So go back over here. And net income is 20. Sales is 200. So we can see right away that's going to be 10%, but let's do it anyway. So 20 divided by 200 is, voila, 0.1 or 10%. So that means that our net income is 10% of our sales. Let's make sure we're right there. And yes, we're right, 10%. Return on assets. So what is our return on all that on all of our assets, fixed and current? So return on assets is a profitability ratio, which is net income over total assets. Net income over total assets. So let's go back over here. So our net income is 20, and our total assets are 320. So we simply say 20 divided by 320, and that's going to give us 6%, 6.25%, right? Because 600 is 6%, so 6.25%. Let's make sure we got that right, and I believe we did, 6.25%. We're good. Return on, our last one is return on equity, which is another profitability ratio, which is net income over common stockholders' equity. So this is a little bit tricky because they get common stockholders' equity. So it's net income, but first of all, jump back up here, which is, again, 20 over common stockholders' equity, which is going to be common stock plus retained earnings, I believe. So 20 over 240. Let's make sure of that. Hope I'm right. 20 over, these are things that you can always just look up, but let's just make sure. 20 over 240, whoops. 240 equals 8.3%, right? Because that's 0.08, so it should be 8.3%. And I believe that's correct. It is 8.33%. So that gives us all of our ratios for the current year, 2015. And you guys, I'm pretty sure, won't have any problem going through on your own using the same, doing the same thing that I did for 2015 to compute the ratios for 2016. And then you're going to find out that this sort of gives you a hint of what you should find. Once you look at that, you'll see that liquidity is strong and stable. Debt is modest, stable, and you'll see that your utilization of your assets or the return on them are improving slightly, while the profit margins show a pretty good improvement. So that's what you should see here. So see if your answers here match up with the narrative of what's going on down here, and you'll probably be correct. And that does it for our homework for Chapter 6.